This Raw Green episode is brought to you by Obi, a sustainability consultancy firm specialized in life cycle assessment and decarbonization strategies. For more information, check oneob.com or visit our page on social media. Links in the description. Welcome to a new episode of Raw Green. Today, I want to dive into a hot topic: ESG requirements. You probably heard about different environmental, social, and governance standards. But let's be real, they're not the easiest to wrap your head around, especially if you're not an expert in the field. The thing is, the rules and standards are multiplying like crazy, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to keep pace with the changes. It's like trying to follow a moving target. This is one of the reasons we are seeing this explosion of ESG reporting software. These tools are designed to simplify the process for companies, making it easier to collect, analyze, and report their ESG data in a way that's meaningful and transparent. But here's the kicker: with so many different standards and tools out there, it is tough to know which one to trust. The lack of consistency across the board makes it challenging to compare companies and industries accurately. It's like trying to compare apples to oranges, except there are a million different types of apples and oranges, each one with its own set of rules. However, despite the confusion and uncertainty, there is no denying that embracing ESG principles it is crucial for building a better, more sustainable future. By prioritizing transparency, accountability, and positive change, we can drive meaningful progress in our organization and communities. The guests we have today embraced sustainability, ESG, and circular economy principles for more than 20 years. He's the founder and CEO of Rio, a sustainability platform that helps companies to measure and analyze their carbon footprint. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, here for you, Dan Botterill. Ciao, Dan. Welcome.
Ciao, Francesco. Lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
No, thank you for being here. And what you guys do at Rio, it is no easy task. It is kind of complicated. And I wanted to start by asking you. You have over 20 years of experience into the whole ESG and sustainability environment, which is way before it got this massive kick of the past 5, 8 years. How did you end up developing an ESG platform, and why?
Yeah, it makes me feel old when you put it that way. 20 was 20 years ago, right? It's like, oh my god, I didn't realize that happened. But yeah, so it has changed a lot. This whole kind of space has changed a lot. But I think it also changes as we understand more, right, through life and how we learn about things and how
It's
we're
a curve.
exposed to different things and
Yeah,
different ways of working. So but from my early career, where I studied environmental technology at university. I did a law degree in environmental law. I kind of I guess I was destined to work in this area to some extent. I always loved sustainability. Didn't really know what it was until I came across the Rio Declaration of Sustainability and thought, oh my god, that's what I need to do with my career. As society, we need to progress kind of in a balanced way. We need economic development, but we need to consider the environment and society at the same time. And to me, that just made perfect sense as a model. So, so yeah, I started my career kind of thinking I'm going to go out and be sustainable and help sustainability happen in different places. So, early career was really based on the environmental protection side of things. So I did a lot of work in contaminated land. I did a lot of work on landfill sites in the waste management industry.
Oh
Really
wow.
glamorous places, Francesca. Like,
Mm.
it was lovely. It was lovely at
Mm.
times. But what it kind of taught me was just these real issues, ground level issues that companies have to deal with. When you go and visit a site, do an audit, meet the people, you understand what their environment is and what their impact is, and think about ways that you can help them be better and help them improve. So I kind of, that early stage of my career was brilliant to learn and see how things happen ground level. And then I was kind of fortunate enough to meet some investors, some VCs and some private equity investors, and kind of build them up as a client base. So start understanding how they looked at clean tech, how they looked at the environment, how they looked at sustainability, and what the issues were for them, what the trends were for them. So, that kind of led me into this whole world of ESG. They weren't calling it ESG at the time, like
Hmm.
late 2000s, but it really was kind of the start of the ESG movement. And I
Well, it was
think kind of
more
since maybe
HSC.
yeah, exactly.
It is started
It,
as an extension of HSC. Yeah.
Absolutely. Environmental due, it was like, cool. Investors would kind of go, right, I want to buy that power station. The environmental due diligence,
Yeah.
what's the legal stuff? Are the people safe? Have they got the right procedures? And that's kind of morphed into ESG/sustainability now, right? Like, I think that's the next progression. Is this kind of the people using ESG and sustainability interchangeably, which I think is I used to not have a problem with that, but I think it's kind of created a lot of the problems that we see now from the kickback in the US and other places, is that kind of misunderstanding between ESG, which is an investor's toolkit to understand risk, versus an actual strategy to help the planet and people live in a much cleaner, better way. And that's sustainability, and that's what I do, and that's what I want to do. It just so happens we can do ESG at the same time if we take that sustainable viewpoint. So I kind of, my why did I end up building Rio? I wanted to create a platform that could help companies anywhere in the world to do a lot of this stuff themselves. And that's been my driver for, I guess, probably 10 years of my career now. We started building Rio in 2018, but the first idea behind Rio probably started in 2013. Probably started about 10 years ago. So I've kind
Okay.
of been building towards what we have now. And you mentioned, great introduction at the start, just this blitz of law all of a sudden and compliance, right? That's
Yes,
going to
it's
change everything,
madness.
you know?
It's madness. It's madness, and it is a legislator game of catching up with the market demand. The way I see it, and many of the draft or the standards or regulations that are out uh, are incredibly too generic, and they need to be specified per industry. We're not talking about
Mm,
accounting here, because if you have a number, that is the number. Here we're talking about completely different set of rules, even in the same industry. You're talking about the mining industry. If you're mining copper or you're mining ores, it is a different thing and different sets of requirements that you need, different technologies, hence different environmental impacts across different territories. It is very difficult to generalize on something like that and create a unified set of standards. I recognize that. I recognize that. However,
absolutely.
uh, however, what they're doing, it is this. It is a generalization at the moment, which resulted in two things. First of all, is confusion. It's very confusing. It's confusing for us that we work with this on a daily basis. It is confusing for companies that they need to catch up with the requirements, and it is even more confusing for companies that they need to start their journey towards their ESG metrics quantification and then their decarbonization strategies. So it is very, 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 very complex, and it is, like you said, it is a learn, like you had. It is a learning curve, right? There was this
Yeah.
massive market demand, and then that translated into companies jumping on the wagon of sustainability, some in a very good way, some in a really bad way, and then the consequent need for legislators to protect consumer with misleading claims or data or whatever, that created also the opportunity for you to develop Rio, to help companies with their requirements, with their ESG reporting, which is obviously a very very important thing. I wanted to ask you about the different kind of platforms now, like it is at legislation level, also at offer level. Now there is this proliferation of softwares, and you can still see that we are at the beginning of a very important market. Uh, and the reason why I'm saying this, it is because I keep using the accounting example. There isn't a Xero on the market that covers everything, okay, that it is as a accessible price point, and that covers your accounting requirements. You have very good softwares that are very complete to do a number of things, others that do other things. What it is even more crazy, it is the pricing. So there are some the pricing differences. There are some that are madly expensive, like unreasonably expensive, and some others that are unreasonably cheap. They cost like a coffee a day or less than a coffee a day, to have them. So what's the catch? What's the catch on these pricing
Yeah.
strategies?
God, it's a really good question. I think so. The zero example, where's the zero? Who is the zero for sustainability software, right? Like, and is it even possible? Now, I think financial reporting, financial measurement is something that's been done for hundreds of years, right?
Yeah,
And there's very serious penalties if you don't report an honest view of your financials. You're in prison, no doubt.
yeah,
You're fraudulent. Your brand reputation's crushed. All of those drivers have been built up over time, and therefore the way we collect data and information surrounding financial kind of performance, yes, it's tricky when you cross boundary, international, and all these things, but fundamentally you're measuring one thing: money.
yeah,
Sustainability, we could be measuring 50, 100 different data points, right? For
yeah,
things we've never collected before. There's no infrastructure. There's no digital systems to kind of automatically measure your carbon. There's very few really reliable energy management APIs like to the big kind of energy industry. So, all of a sudden, if you want to collect, you want to be the zero. Zero works because it's incredibly scalable, right? Because people have data and information they can upload to it, and they want to invoice, they can measure that one thing. What becomes the challenge is, I've got 30, 40 different data points I need to manage. Some are environmental, some are social, some are governance, some are economic related. So that's part of the challenge now. And I think that's where that price comes in, because it's, for SMEs, for smaller companies, I think we're really close to having a very scalable, low cost model for uncomplicated single site or few site organizations where you can self serve, you can go in, you've not got that much data, you can help guide with estimations to get a robust position still. But the really big complex ones, that some of our clients are in 90 different countries, capturing all sorts of different data,
God,
not
yeah,
knowing where to look for it, where to find it. It seems that there's those bigger issues to solve first before we can kind of imagine that there is a true zero kind of proposition that kind of serves the market. So I'm kind of pragmatic in our approach at Rio, like you, Francesca. I think it has to be kind of a hybrid.
yeah,
There has to be a way for the people that know about this stuff, plus the digital kind of software systems, to work together for now until that better infrastructure is available to grab the data points from. And I think that unleashes a huge amount of scalability, because the danger right now is people will tell you, oh, yeah, we can do this. And they can, because they just estimate everything. And does it give you a real view of performance? Like, it's some of these kind of corporate carbon footprints you see, and especially in kind of investment fund levels, I wouldn't, I just can't accept their accuracy to any level or any level
Mm-hmm.
of confidence. I might as
Mm-hmm.
well just written a number and given it to them. Like, and the obsession is that they just want to disclose. They don't really care the number a lot of the time. They just need
They
to
just want
know
to
our fund
communicate
is
it.
5
Yeah.
billion tons of carbon. Told you. There's no penalties, for them getting that wrong. So you can kind of see, I can see this case for like just huge fraudulence on accounting, particularly around carbon,
Yeah.
and but just the market opportunities that people aren't seeing that creates for a carbon tax and a carbon economy if it's done correctly. So yeah, I kind of think that there's a lot of things for us to solve. I focus on carbon because it's probably the easiest thing for us to get our heads around, right? Like as an indicator of sustainability.
Yeah.
But there's all sorts of other things that we're looking at now: nature based credits, nature based disclosures as well, and kind
Yeah.
of environmental performance through creditisation. So there's loads of this other stuff coming. But yeah, right now the fundamental issue I think on scalability is just data quality really that's holding things back.
And on data quality, I wanted to ask you something that it is at the base of everything that gets disclosed. Uh, Based on your current knowledge,
Mm.
and you go through this on a daily basis. Right now, what is, in your opinion, the data, the quality and reliability of the data that are used to calculate the emissions of company X, Y, and Z?
Scope 1 and 2, pretty good, getting very good. Scope 3, just you know,
A disaster.
I think
Why you say it's a
it's
disaster?
not necessarily a disaster. It does depend very much on sector and scale, right?
Hmm.
But I think it's because it's so variable, isn't it, for every company, every organization. Whatever product or service you produce, you know, it's so variable from company to company. And I think that's the major challenge, for companies is that estimation of data because your direct impacts, as we said earlier, you can pretty easily measure those things. Depending on the sector that you're operating in, and a lot of this is energy, right? Energy
Yeah.
use, energy consumption, energy utilization, and we've got a pretty good grip on that bit. The rest of it, embodied carbon life cycle, where you guys are really strong and you specialize, that kind of element is, I think some people see it as a bit of a dark art,
It
like
i-
like at
it is.
times,
It
how could you
is. It is
possibly know?
magic.
Um, but it's scientific though. When it's done right, it's based on very scientific assumptions. It's based you know, some things are done in a laboratory, right? Like laboratory and kind of measured very scientifically. So again, that reduces scalability. If you've got to go and get your product sent to a lab to be analysed to
Yeah.
work out this stuff, again, that's another back to that issue of data collection and data quality. How many
Yes.
companies are going to pay for that at the moment when they don't need to?
Very little.
Um,
Yeah, if none.
Ones that
Yeah.
want to differentiate do it because they think actually I can show that my product is less carbon, less embodied carbon, is greener, has a lower impact, and they're the ones that are going to benefit from these taxes that are going to come in as well, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so I think, yeah, to me that's the kind of I'd say huge amounts of scope 3 is very 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 difficult, and
It
relies on a
is.
lot of honesty as well.
It
So,
does. It does. It does rely a lot on the honesty, communication, transparency, and yes, we hold on. We do a lot of life cycle assessments, and so working on the verticals of products and supply chain, and the data collection. It is excruciating.
yeah,
Just you have to literally go and grab them. It is very hard to be communicated to you, and when those data are not communicated to you, you have to rely on a secondary set of data, which are fantastic because the emission factors, where you have databases that they have been collecting data from the 70s for certain industries,
yeah,
not for others, because for example there is pharma and chemicals, where the availability of data, it is very very low, very very low. But again, like you said, it is an opportunity. and those databases are not cheap at all. You know that
No,
really well. They're not cheap. So it
knowledge
is
is
an
power, right?
opportunity.
The wrong people hold it.
It is an opportunity, like the end part of the process, which is the reporting. It is growing and consolidating. It needs to go in a parallel speed and direction. Also, the data collection to improve the quality of your reporting at the end of the day, of the
Yeah,
reliability of the end reporting that has to be done. Absolutely fundamental.
absolutely.
Absolutely fundamental.
But that's
Do
that's the philosophical thing, though, isn't it, Francesco? Like, report why are you reporting? Because the
Yeah,
law tells you to, or because you're a good person and you want to be transparent about your business and you actually want to use the data to do better.
yeah,
Now, if you're serious about what you're doing, then that's great because the disclosure is easy. The regulator's never going to go, "Oh, Francesco, it should have been 27 tons, not 32."
mm, mm,
Like,
mm.
well, it's just not going to happen. With there's thousands of companies doing this, it's not going to happen, is it? Like,
No,
it's more about like how important you see this data in helping you undertake your business in a more efficient, prosperous manner, like
yeah,
responsible manner. Reporting is just reporting. I get bored of reporting. It doesn't matter, I know it's a big drive for our business and we have to do it, and it's what gets us paid. But I hate it when it's just reporting that we're doing.
no.
It
It's the value of the
frustrates me.
data, right? It is, and then how you
Yeah,
crunch those
absolutely.
numbers and you interpret them, and what you can build on those numbers, rather than the reporting to make some stakeholder happy, to get that chop, or that certificate
Absolutely.
somewhere. Yeah, I agree with you totally. Also, because then we enter into a completely different, let's say, conversation, which is the one of these standards and the way that they are developed, these standards, and most importantly, when the certificates are released, basically, who is auditing the auditor, uh,
Mhm.
which is, again, it's a topic for like a month of conversations around it. What I wanted to ask you, it is, uh, we basically started to talk about this. Do you think, in a very tangible way, that it is enough for companies to just concentrate on the ESG reporting, according to one of these million standards, or it should be done more? And in case it should be done more, what do you think companies should do?
Yeah. I think I think the government should. I think any government um, should make sustainability reporting more mandatory. I think it needs to be more than financial disclosure that we get our companies doing now. And I don't think that means the obsession. I think before a lot of this law was coming, CSRD kind of in
Yeah.
Europe and so on, and you know the obsession was for all of these frameworks and optional standards to just overcomplicate and go, here's hundreds of KPIs that you should use and report on without really focusing on materiality and what's material to you as an organization. So my thing with all of any business is, well, just do the materiality bit, work out exactly what is, from a sustainability view, is critical to you now in terms of your short, medium, long term financial risk, but also the impact you can have outwards, right? Because we want to be
Hmm.
responsible companies. So that double materiality approach. I think if there's like every company, looked at it that way and thought these are the three things that really are truly material to us. So we're just going to focus our efforts there. That would
Okay.
make everything much more simple. And
Yeah.
I think in some ways CSRD is potentially moving in that direction because it's saying, look, here we need you corporates to tell us now what you're up to, and we need you to do double materiality. But you kind of need to tell us why that's not material to you. Otherwise, we're going to get you. We're going to have
Yeah.
you. So I think maybe there's a middle ground between the reality of and that kind of enforcement. Um, but yeah, I just think if we just got companies focusing more on that, fewer things that are critical to their financially material enterprise value linked, but starting to think we've all got a broader responsibility here.
Mm.
And I think that is a generational thing, right? Like, because I've seen my career go through these different stakeholders, different boardrooms, and and now, I kind of feel there are people coming into the boardroom that do have this perspective as well, in big
Mm.
companies who want to just behave more responsibly, who it isn't just about short term financial gain. So I think that hopefully drives it on top of it. And you said that at the start. I think regulation is catching up to some of these behaviors, but the typical company will do the bare minimum. And especially if they're
Yeah.
small, all that really matters is staying in business, right?
Yeah.
So if you layer on all that extra responsibility of reporting and they're just trying to keep afloat, what do you think is going to happen?
It's a
You know,
massive burden
and
on
it's just
them.
no good
Yeah.
to anyone.
Yeah.
It's no good to anyone. So we've got to find ways to help them, make it really easy for them to do this, but
Yeah.
also show them at the same time. By the way, I'm asking you about carbon, but I'm really saying, can you not be paying less on your energy? Could we save you money on your waste and your utilities? And then we'll just measure the carbon for you. That's the sell for me, is that make this about just a better business process. And then they'll be happy to give you the data because you've shown them how to make savings, how to do better, how to improve. So maybe there's something there in kind of the way we all approach it as software providers, and we don't just think about the regulatory stick. We think about, actually, how do we engage our users to give them something a bit more than that, to give them something that they can do and help improve them. So that's where our philosophy is at Rio. Yes, reporting's there, an objective, a clear one for the board, but really we're using that as a veil to hopefully help them see a better business process.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way. I like it a lot. That's what it should be. Yeah, of course, the
Yeah.
quantification of the impacts of the company and uh, what can be done to reduce them. Fantastic and necessary. Uh, at the same time, there are entrepreneurs and employees that depend on that company. Adding more cost on it in several circumstances, it is not feasible, not doable. So that value proposition that you help to generate more income over side or more savings that translate in more purchase power on the other side, it is fantastic. And it is right to have this double value proposition. You have the double materiality at the same time. You want to give also that double value proposition. I like it a lot. Let me ask you something. I was reading on the news
Yeah.
a few days ago, uh, Watershed, which is another platform, raised
Mm-hmm.
100 million US dollars, closed a round of $100 million a few days ago. Sweep a
Mm-hmm.
year and a half, 2 years ago, another $100 million raised into this. I am not aware of the exact figure on how much they make, how much they generate in revenues, but it's not staggering numbers. My question is, how do you compete with that?
Yeah, really, really interesting, isn't it? So Rio is also VC backed to this point. We haven't had 100 million raise
Hmm.
just yet. But I think with companies that are climate tech companies like these guys are, who are very, I think, very focused on the carbon vertical. Obviously, it gives them a huge amount of resources at their disposal to kick on and move forwards. Um, I, how we compete with those guys is that we are genuinely one platform for sustainability. I don't think they can say that. If they say that, I'd love to see it. Um, I think it's having that broader view that this is more than just that siloed carbon view of the world is what's absolutely essential to kind of help companies drive this whole agenda forward. So I see ourselves actually very different than those guys. I see ourselves as a sustainability platform, not a carbon platform. We do the carbon work, we help you get to your scope three, we help you analyze all that stuff, but just as one material factor versus anything else. So that's our opportunity as Rio, is to be genuinely the zero in this example that you used
Hmm.
earlier, rather than a very niche siloed product. A lot. I think on your question on revenues, I heard, I'd have to check this. I think Watershed's probably like 50 million ARR kind of revenue at a $1.8 billion valuation. So
Jeez.
the kind of institutional investors have leveraged them for a big play, haven't they?
Mm,
Either
yeah.
way, but that also I don't think is too much given the scale of the market opportunity either. As we know, if every company around the world has to disclose its
Yeah.
carbon footprint,
Yeah.
monster market.
Yeah.
But I kind of think that it's zero that will have that market when it gets to
Mm,
that point, or Sage in some ways. So because why wouldn't they? They've already got the scale. They've already got all the financial data and information.
yeah. Yeah.
Why
What's
wouldn't they
stopping
leverage
them?
themselves that way?
Yeah. What's stopping them?
So
But that's
so
what's going
yeah,
to
I think it's
happen, right?
interesting. I think
The
yeah,
consolidation of
it's
the
gonna
market at a certain point. That's a
it's
natural
gonna be
part of
consolidated.
the life cycle of product or
Absolutely,
service.
and it's buy or be bought. Basically, is what's going to
Yeah.
happen, and it's so nascent still. And I talk to investors all the time about this, and what's the right strategy, and there's lots of options on which way you go. I think genuinely from our perspective, trying to build a sustainable business model has been our priority. Yes, we've invested a lot of money to develop Rio and develop the business to get to this point, but we want to do it with that long term sustainable mindset.
Yeah.
Um, and I think be around. I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm in no rush. I'll get
Mm.
this right, and and we'll benefit broader people. I'm not so sure about the rest of the market. Of course, it's going to be you're going to get opportunistic people, right?
Yeah.
My worry and some of the results I've seen from others, like, is you can over focus on the data, like the software infrastructure challenge, and forget this is an incredibly technical, process driven subject matter that has all those different verticals of knowledge that you need to understand to get right. It isn't just a data challenge. That's just the tip of the iceberg, right? It's just
Totally.
how that company manages its waste, its water, how it travels, how it produces its product, all of these things. To get your product right, you need to understand that and show you understand that, and not be superficial about it.
No, totally. And you raise such a very important part, which is what do you decide to offer? Is it am I going to offer the fancy Nancy logo of the certification that I got, or I do have something that
Hmm.
it is not fancy at all, but it is scientific with the highest data quality you can have on the market, and make that again final data quality of the highest level possible. Right now the market, and I see it also on the carbon footprinting and LCA in general part, is more interested into the logo, into have a stamp of some
Yep.
sort, very colorful, because that's what attracts the final consumer. But also at B2B level, it is what attracts several of the end receiver of that product. Very few are going to ask, of that certification that you got, is it traceable? Do you have a underneath report that is been done accordingly? It is something that it will build up when there is more knowledge of the topic, when there are more ESG or sustainability managers inside companies, when that
Mhm.
curve of knowledge will become steeper. So that's what's going to happen. It again, I'm not saying we are in the infancy, but just one step after the infancy of the overall knowledge on the
I
topic.
agree. I absolutely, and I think you see. So we've got kind of in the UK SDR,
Hmm.
the sustainable disclosure requirements coming, and labeling of potential labeling of financial products and funds. And we're seeing with SFDR, kind of the sustainable finance disclosure regulations, these different shades of green concepts used for different fund types, depending on how much they address sustainability or sustainable investment. So, yeah, and I think that B Corp thing is what you're talking about, where people think I'm B Corp, so I'm one of the good guys. Clearly,
One
I've got
of,
B Corp.
not necessarily just B Corp, but yeah, now
Yeah,
it
one
is
of.
synonymous of a very good and conscious company. While maybe there are some others that they have a full inventory of their carbon emissions and other environmental impacts, but they don't
Yeah.
have a B corporation certificate. It's not necessarily one is good or is bad, but right now, what it is being asked, it is B Corp or any other uh, certification that sort.
Yeah, it's just easy to kind of disguise, isn't it? What you really are through those certifications, potentially
Yeah,
if they're not properly verified or audited as well. And I think it's just be careful about that. And I think B Corp also you get a bit unfortunate because people will say, oh, how could Nespresso be a B Corp? Like, and you're like,
exactly.
why? What's your
They
question?
just
Like,
started with the
what would you mean?
recycle
How can they?
pods.
Because they
That
can.
single-use
Yeah,
plastic. That
yeah.
single-use plastic. Actually, there are some pods that they have seven different kind of materials inside. Seven, no one, two, three, four,
Wow.
five, six, seven kind of materials inside. How the hell are you going to recycle that? Is not possible, and it is single use again.
They
So
don't care.
yes, exactly, sorry, but my vein starts to explode when I hear something like that. It drives me
It's the
insane.
point. This is the point, isn't it? Where ESG. This is the difference between ESG and sustainability as well. Like you can have a brilliant ESG score if you're Nespresso, because you can say we understand all of our risk,
Yeah,
but it could fundamentally be a disgusting, polluting vehicle for a company because of what you put on the market and don't care about.
yeah,
Um, and people but still have a really high ESG score. And that's the difference between sustainability and ESG. You're
yes,
displaying no responsibility for what you do because you know that product is just going to end up in a landfill. It's of no use to anybody. And it's fundamentally, you've had years to change that. You've done nothing. So come on. Like, just come on, for God's sake, come on. So it's things like that. And it's like when I go to events and you got like Philip Morris talking next to you about ESG wrapped as sustainability. You're like, come on, guys, you kill people, your core products. Brilliant ESG, but you're killing people. That's
yeah,
people's choice, right? But at
yeah,
the same time, this blur between those things is part of the issue,
yeah.
I think.
Yes, it
You
is.
know?
Well, okay. Everybody, every nature of business, it is allowed to do their study, reporting, verification, and quantification of their emissions. However, is that when that particular label or standard that intervenes in that cleans up the nature of the business that drives me insane. Okay, like you said, you have a tobacco company that maybe it is a B Corp company now. I don't know if they're allowed, but this is just an extreme. But who knows?
It's an
Maybe.
extreme example.
Yeah, it's an extreme example, but it has to be kept in mind, and we also go back to the to one of the things we were saying before, which is who audits the auditors, and that
Mm.
happens for this kind of standards happens on carbon offsets, and which they need to go through an entire revamping of their standards and audits and
Mm.
verification methodologies. We know that. So that it is again, also that part is still in the infancy. There is this company, I don't remember the name, I'll let you know, that it has had last year a huge success, which is basically a auditor of the auditors of carbon offset projects, and they also provide carbon insurance, something like that. Fantastic, fantastic. Just a simple idea,
Yeah,
just a simple idea like that. Boom, they're growing really, really well. Let me ask you
brilliant.
one more thing. Uh, AI. Uh, what do you think it is going to do? Is it going to help your business? Is it going to help Rio, or is it going to be disrupted at the level that no more ESG platform are going to be required in 20 years?
It's a great question, isn't it? Like that. I firmly believe why we use AI so much in Rio and the platform and our roadmap is I actually think it's the only way we can democratize sustainability.
Okay.
I don't think, given all those things we said earlier about where do I find data, how do I do this, like what's happened recently with ChatGPT and those natural language, those big kind of models is, my God, there's like another way to find out information and
Hmm.
and get it put in a way for me to understand more easily as well. Now that coupled with a more granular kind of like symbolic AI approach that we've kind of used for knowledge based building, I think is the key to kind of how you create this self sufficiency around this stuff and this knowledge. So yeah, I'm a huge advocate of it, and that kind of whole debate around, well, people are going to lose their jobs because of AI, and that kind of side of the argument um, is really tricky, isn't it?
Mm,
You can't predict the future on that and how much it's going to change our industries. But there's always going to be a place for people that are really good at what they do, like, and are really passionate about what they do, and are very build up their knowledge about what they do and their ground level experience. And I think my job with Rio is to capture those guys' experience, knowledge, things that make them work, and then get that out to as many people as I can in as cost effective a way as possible. And so, therefore, like, I can only do that with AI. I
mm,
don't know any other way we can do that without, because as we said right at the start, companies just can't afford to pay for the premium on the human consultant or advisor.
yeah.
Most people just can't afford to pay that. So, yeah, for me, it has to be kind of AI has to be a huge answer to sustainability.
It is a massive help. It is a massive help. It could be. It is already. Sorry, a extremely valuable tool to managers all around the world. I am. I am a pessimistic in the long run. Not about now. Not in the next 10 years, but in the long run, I fear we're gonna end up like in the Matrix. However, I know.
I think we're already
It
in
may
there, mate. We're
sound
already there.
maybe we're already there. It may sound ridiculous, but when I read articles, and this is what it is communicated to us, we don't know what they're concocting behind closed doors. The first thing that comes into my mind, it is pull the plug right now, because maybe it will come under control. It will not be, sorry, under control. But I agree with you. If you want to make sustainability and ESG services accessible to a broader range and audience of companies, you need that level of automation that otherwise it is not possible with a human, 100% human force. So yes, I
Yeah,
agree with you.
I
In
kind of
the
think though we've
sorry,
had years and years of kind of um, overly confident kind of people, politicians in positions with nuclear weapons at their disposal.
yeah,
A lot more kind of human error that can that can get attached to that
yeah,
um, than a machine can look at essentially.
yeah,
I don't know. Like, yeah, I see where you're coming from, and only time's going to tell on that, right? And all I
yeah,
can think about right now is, I guess, AI as an application in what we do with Rio. How do I use it as an individual myself responsibly as well?
yeah.
Um, and that's all I could be faced with. It feels exciting, but I also get that there's a bit of, God, what could it be here?
Yeah, what could be? Well, let's wait. Let's wait and see what's gonna happen. It's definitely gonna be exciting, and there is for what concerns us and let's say everybody that it is involved in sustainability and ESG, and the companies and persons that are going to be involved. There's a lot of job to do, AI or not.
Yeah,
And with this, I would like to thank you for participating to this episode. It's been great, and appreciated your time. And thank you. I will talk to you soon.
thanks, Francesco. Thank you.
All right.
Pleasure.
Ciao, then. You take care.
Ciao.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Raw Green, brought to you by Obi, a sustainability consultancy firm specialized in life cycle assessment and decarbonization strategies. If you're looking to make an impact, a tangible and measurable one, reach out to us on our website at oneob.com or visit our social media. Links below in the description. See you at the next episode. Ciao.